Hello and welcome to video 4 of the Introduction for Discipling with Power. At this point, we have gone through a lot of the preparatory stuff, setting the foundation and getting things going. Now we're going to get into some of the fun stuff. That's really exciting and really entertaining. Kind of the genesis behind this part, I call it Faithful 75. The genesis behind it comes from, you might have heard some people talk about, or maybe you've even tried 75 Hard. If you don't know anything about it, here's the background. 75 Hard is a program that is introduced by Andy Frisella, and he's got a podcast and a web videos that he does, and he uses some scatological language, some colorful metaphors in his presentations. But the concept of 75 Hard was something that is really inspiring in what he's doing. The focus and the purpose behind it is to develop discipline, integrity, mental toughness, physical toughness, and being able to turn obstacles into opportunities and to get better at planning for your own success and moving those things forward. And he goes about it in an interesting way. What 75 Hard is that you've got 5 rules that you follow for 75 days, and if you miss one, you have to start over.
Right.
And you can't alter the rules, you can't sidestep the rules, you follow it as it is. The reason why those rules are there is because each one offers a different kind of challenge or learning or process that comes with it. Because of where he was in his life when he developed it and what he was pursuing, most of these rules are related to health and fitness. And so some people confuse it as a fitness program or a diet program, and it's not those things. You will likely get more fit in the process. You will likely lose weight in the process of doing it, but that's not the core focus of why it is. 75 Hard is supposed to be about mental toughness. It's the discipline of doing it. The 5 rules are this. First is to pick a diet and stick to it, and no alcohol. And I did 75 Hard, so I've been through these. The diet part is you pick the diet, and he even recommends using a dietitian to pick the diet and to do that so that you can pick the diet that's going to work for what you're wanting to do. There's lots of diet options that are out there, and he wasn't setting a rule on that. The rule is you pick a diet and you stick to it. So you don't break your rules. You're setting a principle of what you're going to eat.
Right.
The no alcohol part of it was kind of a no-brainer for me because I don't drink alcohol anyway. So I did change this one. For me, it was no soda for 75 days. I felt like I couldn't do this rule correctly unless there was something I had to actually give up.
So you substituted.
Right. Since alcohol isn't something I drink anyway, giving it up wasn't really giving anything up. So I had to give something up, and that's what I chose. You drink a gallon of water each day. Now this one seems deceptively easy because it's just a gallon of water. But not everybody is really great at drinking water on a regular basis. And when you start keeping track, you don't like water at all, do you?
No.
Yeah. Now when you start keeping track of how much you're drinking, if you don't start drinking enough early in the day, you get down to your end of your day and you've got to drink like half a gallon of water before you go to bed. That's a lot of water. And that's a lot on the stomach. It can be hard for people to do. So that's where planning and getting somewhat of the discipline and that comes in. The third rule was to do 2 45-minute workouts each day, and they couldn't be back-to-back. They had to be separated, and one of them had to be outdoors. The intent there is you have to go out and face the climate, the weather, whatever the conditions are outside, whether it's snowing or raining or sunny or hot or freezing or whatever it is, that you're going to go and you're going to do your 45-minute exercise outside every day, and you're going to do another 45-minute exercise. And this is where a lot of people get in a lot of trouble with it and think, well, it's a fitness program, and some medical professionals and things counsel against it because it's easy to overwork it. But there's no specifications of what the workout is. Mm-hmm. One of them could be going for a walk. One could be riding a bike. One could be weightlifting. You could be doing yoga or cardio, but you pick what works best for you, and you can work with a trainer or somebody who helps you select the workouts that you do so that it works for your benefit. But the hard part is in disciplining yourself to do it for the 45 minutes. That's an hour and a half of your day just exercising.
Right.
And that takes planning and putting stuff aside. When I did it, I think the hardest part that I had is I was helping doing some repairs at my parents' house, and it took me 2 or 3 days to get through those repairs, and I was starting out there at 7 in the morning and I was finishing at 8 o'clock at night. And that meant that I was up doing my exercise at 4 a.m. And then I was doing it at 10 o'clock when I got home to do my second one. And it extended my day, and it was a little bit more of a challenge to fit it in. But I wasn't going to fail. I was going to finish my 75 days. The fourth one is to read 10 pages in a nonfiction book. And you had to actually have a book with paper. You couldn't just listen to it or something like that. You need to pick it up and actually read it. And 10 pages. And nonfiction being, you recommended do stuff that's going to benefit you as far as self-help or learning. I actually used scriptures for mine, for part of it. I read his book, or no, I read somebody else's book. It was a business development book, nonfiction, and then I read scriptures, and as I did it, because it's nonfiction.
Right.
And it was still to my benefit. And then, and 10 pages of scripture is a lot denser than some of those self-help or business improvement books. There's a lot less white space in the pages. Smaller print.
Yeah.
And then the fifth one is a daily progress picture. I didn't understand this one at first, but it's because it's so easy to forget. And it's not something that you're posting online. You're taking it so that you can see your progress over the 75 days and kind of what you look like. There were some rules that went around how you took the picture. But it was those 5 things. In going through the process, one of the things that stood out to me in doing this is, why couldn't you have 5 rules that went by the same type of discipline, that were focused towards that toughness and integrity, but were focused on a different aspect of life? Like, instead of health and fitness, around spirituality. And originally I wanted to call it 75 Hard Spiritual Edition. But it's not that kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I renamed it Faithful 75. So the rules that I came up with for Faithful 75, and I'm doing it now. I'm on day 56. And I did have to restart. On day 25, I had one day where I missed one of the rules and I had to start over, and now I'm on day 56. So if I hadn't had to restart, I would have just finished.
Wow.
So, but see, I'm proud of my failure.
See, okay.
I learned from it.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. All right, so the first one is to read scriptures for 30 minutes a day. Doesn't matter which one. And this isn't necessarily heavy study. This is just turn on the timer, set it, pick up the book, and read. Whichever one you want. Again, don't listen to it, because you can tune out or you get distracted. This is, get it on paper. You can do it digitally if you want, but actually read it. And for 30 minutes. And fill that in through part of your day. This is part of your learning at Jesus Christ's feet. I heard it said once that if you want to talk to God, you pray. If you want God to talk to you, read your scriptures.
Right, yeah.
So if you're reading the scriptures, this is an opportunity for Him to talk to you. All right?
Yeah.
Any questions about the reading? Okay.
You said throughout the day. You can be 15 minutes here or 15 minutes there.
I've done
long as
that.
it's 30.
I've done that because I had to. Things were so crunched. I actually had to do that today. Because I got up this morning and I started doing my reading. I got 15 minutes into it. We had some chores and errands that needed to be taken care of. And Melissa said, all right, it's time to go. And I stopped my timer, went and did those chores, came back, sat down, turned the timer back on, kept reading.
Okay.
But I finished it. But it's to get 30 minutes in.
Gotcha.
All right, number 2, listen to a conference talk from General Conference. Yeah, that's an easy one. Except it's also easy to forget.
Oh, forget to listen.
Yes. See, now, you've been listening to conference talks for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And you listen to them on the road on your way to and from work.
Correct.
What if you're not going to work?
Good point. You know, that thought does cross my mind quite a bit. For instance, on my way here today, since I'm currently on a timeout from work for personal reasons, I was like, do I listen to my Amazon Music? And then right next to it are the conference talks. There's 2 little buttons on my phone that I can push. And I hadn't been traveling lately to work, so I hit the conference talks. and listen to a conference talk on there.
Why do you listen to the conference talks?
They help me not only spiritually but mentally at the moment.
But you started it a long time ago. I mean, you've been going through a lot of stuff in your life the past year.
Yes.
But you've been doing this for longer than that.
Correct.
So when you started, what was the intent?
To better myself as a person. I noticed that I was much more angrier behind the wheel with slow people in front of me. Still working on that, but it's gotten a lot better. And I noticed that my day wouldn't be as hectic while listening. I actually began listening, I think they start in 1971, October or April, I can't remember which month. And I was working for B2B delivery. So I was in the car all day long, dropping stuff off, picking stuff up. And I hadn't started right away. I noticed that while I was behind the wheel for so long, I would get irritated at other people. And then I decided myself to try to calm myself. And what's the best way to do that? They say read the scriptures. It'll completely change your day. I said, well, I obviously can't read while I'm driving, so why don't I listen to conference talks? And within maybe a day, 2 days, I could tell a difference from my driving and the way that I felt about driving and people in front of me, and my day wouldn't be as hectic as it was. So I continued to do it. My thought then changed from, you know, I want to be better behind the wheel, went to I want to be able to listen to all these talks to hear what they have to say, because I wasn't around for most of them. Even when I was a teenager, oh, I'm sick, I don't want to go to conference, you know. But now as I'm older, I want to hear what was said to see if it would be beneficial to me. That is why I want to finish out up to the current point where we are right now.
And you've been doing this for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Have you gained any other experiences or benefits that were not expected?
Forgiveness. And how easy it is to forgive somebody. Before I thought, you know, the scripture, you must forgive who you will forgive. But for me, I'll forgive who I want to. But you're required. That's a piece of cake.
Having known you for 28 years, that is huge.
Yes.
Because I know the most of the time that I've known you, if you've had a sort of an attitude about you that if you perceived that somebody had wronged you, you were ready to cut them off and be done with them.
Yes.
For good. So I mean, the forgiveness thing, that's a big step.
Yeah.
For you. So and it's not for everybody, but I mean that's had an impact for you. So that's awesome. And really enjoy doing that. And I'm going to caveat this rule a little bit, because with this one, you can read the conference talk if you want to, or in some cases, not everyone has access to these things. Or maybe they're from a different faith or a different church or something like that. Choose a devotional of some sort that's coming from somebody else, to where you're getting some type of a sermon from somebody from now. Not just the scriptures, but something present day that can help you now and allow you to get some counsel and some direction and instruction. Because scriptures are great for that stuff. But as we all know, a lot of the stuff in the scriptures took place a long time ago, and where you can draw parallels and you can liken the scriptures to your current life. Sometimes to be able to have somebody talk about modern day circumstances helps you in a different way. And so it's another piece of learning. And when that inspiration is coming from God to them, as they're sharing what they've gotten, and they're sharing their testimonies, you know, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am with them. You know, that it's that opportunity for that sharing, and as we share testimonies with each other. And here we're getting those things. We go to the conference talks because we're listening to prophets, seers, revelators, apostles, people who have direct contact with God and are receiving and have stewardship over the church. There's other sources that can come from, because even in those conference talks you have people who have other callings, a counselor in the Relief Society, or the presiding bishopric, or different people who have different responsibilities, and they're sharing their testimonies and their thoughts, and they can be for our benefit. So other devotionals work just fine. For me, that's a great source, and so that's where I go for those. Third one, personal prayer 2 times a day. And I'm going to specify this a little bit. So, praying at a meal, praying in a meeting, praying for family prayer, something like that, those are not what I'm talking about here. This is like go in your closet, shut the door, pray against the wall, kneel by your bed, you and God, one-on-one, father and son, father and daughter, talking, having that personal conversation about your day, your feelings, your desires, your worries, what's going on in your life, and being able to develop that communication for asking for things that are important to you, showing your gratitude directly to God for the things that you've received and the blessings that are there, and being able to have that personal time, at least twice a day. You can do more, by all means.
Yeah.
Pray all day if you want to, but I was praying in my mind, so that's good enough. No, this needs to be verbal, and I'm going to explain that a little bit here. Words are a power of creation. Let's take you back to the Bible a little bit. God said, "Let there be light," and it was created. Let the lands and waters be divided. He spoke things into being. He commanded and it was. Or he spoke it and it was. When he introduces Jesus Christ, or as John writes it, he is the Word. Jesus Christ is the Word. Words are powerful. The things you say, even the things you say to yourself in your mind, to yourself, create your life and your experience of life around you. And we don't always give a lot of credit to that. There is an ability for when you say, this is what I want, this is where I'm going, this is who I am. When you say things, you create your world. So when you are on your knees and you're talking to God and you are speaking, you are using a power of creation to share with your Creator what you're grateful for and what you desire and what you're afraid of and what you love and all of these different things. And in that moment, you are creating your day, your night, your life, and you don't even recognize it. And being able to see, experience, and feel that power in your prayers, and coming from me, that's a big deal. In my youth, I wanted and expected for me to be able to pray and ask God, please just confirm for me that you're hearing me. And I didn't get the answer that I wanted. And I didn't get any confirmation said, yes, he's listening. And I became discouraged with it. And I stopped. And any prayers that I did beyond that tended to be more for routine, just checking boxes. And I never felt like I ever had that connection for a long time. And it's only been over the last couple of years to where I've had some experiences that have changed that. Because I was willing to give prayer a try, but from a different position. Not asking God to give me a sign. Not asking Him to say, prove to me that you're there and you're listening. I took a different approach one day. I was doing Faithful 75 when I did it. So this is really recent. But I asked Him, I prayed for some things. I said, you know what? When these prayers are answered, will you just help me to recognize that answer so that I can see it, so I realize it? Just help me recognize it. And the next morning, one of those prayers was answered, and I didn't even realize it for another 12 hours. I was just kneeling down to pray again. I realized, oh wow, it was like a kick in the head. And so it gave me a new relationship with prayer that I hadn't had before. But that's why this is important. And sometimes it's going to feel like routine, and sometimes it feels like you're just checking the box. But the more you can take and make something of it, it doesn't have to be miracle creating prayers.
Right.
It's just communing with God for a minute, going and visiting with Dad. You know, you were actually the one I was praying for.
I remember because you had texted you. Mark told me that night. Told me about it.
Yeah, I had to tell you because I mean it shocked me. I had said a prayer on your behalf, and the next morning you called me up to say, "Hey, somebody spoke in my mind. I heard this," and it was like the answer you got was what I was praying that you would receive.
Yep.
And what's funny is I didn't realize it in that moment. It was at the end of the day when I finally was like, "Oh wow."
Yeah, it's really amazing and something, you know, completely. It's just goes along with me, you know, getting that forgiveness and use of prayer. So it was just how it all intertwines. It's really kind of cool. So
the pray part is exercise, because you're strengthening something, you're developing. There's techniques that can go into your prayer because people worry about what you can and can't pray for.
Right.
You know, I ask God for something that I know He can't give. You know, can I presume what God will and will not do? You know, I want this, but maybe it's not right. You know, these questions we ask. Learning to answer those questions for yourself is it's an exercise to find those answers, to understand prayer better.
Right.
So, but that's something I look forward to being able to share just a video just about that.
Okay.
Later on down the road.
Awesome.
Rule number 4. Record an entry in your journal. Now this seems like, well, what does that have to do with the spirituality? You are recording the history of your experiences. Here you are, starting out on a journey where you are seeking to be more of a disciple of Jesus Christ and looking for that development, to be more like Him, to live His teachings better, to be in inspiration and a service and support to people around you. And to do that, in the process, you're going to feel things and experience things. Some are going to be difficult. There's going to be failures on the road along the way. There's going to be times when you're discouraged in things. And you write about those things. And then there's times when you have successes and wins and victories. What happened? And you write about those things. And some of that you're writing about for you. Because again, your words create. And as you're writing those things, you may actually be realizing and recognizing things that you didn't know before. I was talking about when I realized it the next day, that answer to that prayer, it was when I was writing it in my journal. That's when I realized it.
That's cool.
So, writing in your journal, and it's one of those things that it's easy to forget, and sometimes it feels a little tedious. It doesn't have to be long entries, but you write about what kinds of experiences have you had while doing Faithful 75? What's significant that happened in your day? How do you feel about something? What's going on in the world around us? Has there been some significant changes just in pop culture or politics? Or, I mean, I recorded in my journal the day when Hamas attacked Israel, because I know that's a significant moment in our history. I knew that just from that attack that we were looking at a war that was coming, and how that was going to affect things in the world. And I knew that there were some people who were going to be affected significantly by that because of their relation either to Israel or to the Palestinians or to Islam as well, and how that was going to play out. And we're still watching that play out now.
Right.
But that was a historic event, and I recorded it kind of where I thought about it at the moment, because that was important to me. But it doesn't have to be a lot, and it doesn't have to be everything, but record something and make it something that is meaningful to you, something that maybe if your grandchildren read this, it may give them some insight into you and your life and what was going on and what was important to you. Take some time to share some things that are spiritual, share some things that are not. But whatever comes to mind, write about the things that you prayed for. Write about the answers that you got. Or when you saw those prayers answered. Write about blessings you've received and things you're grateful for. Write about people in your life and what's going on with them and what you want to see for them or what you want to do for them. But it's a little bit of a meditation on your day and your life. And then finally, this part is a part of practicing being more like Christ. And this one is going to be the challenge. Give a kindness every day. Now when I say that, what are you thinking of?
You look nice today.
You're going the easy road for sure. You look nice today.
Give a compliment.
And it can be. It can be something that's small. So I've had some of these where, as far as giving a kindness, one of the gas stations out here, I got a thing where it's like a buy one, get one free. So I'm on my way in there to get a drink, buy one, get one free. Somebody else is in there, they're heading for it. I'm like, hey, I got this coupon. I got your drink for you.
Ah, that's cool.
So it was a little bit more. In some of them, there's been some cases where I was participating in something. I went and helped out in a food drive one day, and I was there was the phone systems. People were calling in donations, and I was taking calls and taking their pledges as it was coming in. So I had the opportunity to go and do this service and help that out. That was my give of kindness for that day. But there's been different forms, and some of them have been conversations, like you said. Somebody was having a rough day, and I talked to them and was able to cheer them up a little bit and help them out with something, and something that they said about it. This, man, I'm so glad I talked to you, or something like that they said in response. I'm like, wow, okay, there's that one. The tricky part for this is that there's some days when you've got yourself tied down in your house and you don't see anybody. So you have to get creative. I have on these occasions, I've just gotten on the phone and called somebody up. I'm just calling to say hi. What's going on in your life? And I'm just asking them questions and getting them to talk to me and tell me about whatever's going on.
Right.
I'm not doing anything for them. I'm just getting them to talk. And they love it. It brightened their day. They felt important because somebody called them and just asked them what's happening in life. I've done some where I wrote a letter to somebody. One I actually physically wrote and put in the mailbox. And kind of that one. But the challenge is, one is remembering to give a kindness to people. To watch for opportunities, to look for the chances that drop in your path, and to see needs around you. Because when you start trying to give a kindness every single day, there's some days where it's hard. You're not seeing them. You have to be aware of everything and everyone that's going on around you and be able to recognize a problem and be able to present a solution for it. You come and help them solve it. Whether it's changing a tire on the side of the road, or giving $1 to somebody who's homeless, or I mean, any number of different things. But to see an opportunity, to recognize it, and to do something about it. So you're developing this awareness that gives you the opportunity to develop some charity and some gratitude and some things for what you can do. And it's not always monetary, and it's not always physical. There's so many different ways you can give a kindness, and that's why I leave it so open-ended. Take whatever it is. But you'll find, especially starting out, it's challenging. That there are some days where you're like, man, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm thinking, I haven't given anyone a kindness today, and I don't know if I'm going to get a chance, and what I'm going to do, and you start having to get creative. And this is the one that caused me to fail. The first time through. There was a Friday, I was home all day, I didn't see anybody, and I wasn't thinking about it. And I got up the next morning, and I realized, oh, I didn't give a kindness yesterday. It had slipped my mind. I hadn't done it. And I said, well, I guess I'm on day 1 today. Let's do it again. But now I remembered, if it gets later in the day, it's like, man, I haven't recognized an opportunity to give a kindness. So now I need to create one.
Right.
So that's when I start getting creative and coming up with other ways that I can do that. And that's where the letter writing or making a phone call or something like that comes into play, because it's got to be something a little bit outside the norm.
Gotcha.
I mean, there was one early on. I hate making the bed. I generally never make the bed. So the first day when I went in there and made the bed in the morning, I counted that one. But what's funny is I kept doing it.
Oh.
But I didn't count it as giving a kindness every day because now I was just doing it.
Right.
It became part of my routine for the day.
There you go.
And that's also an example of how consistency on something like this, using this to build consistency and regular repetition and doing it and exercising over and over and over again, it becomes a part of who you are. And that's the goal and the aim for doing this, is to develop in a way a spiritual toughness. You said something to me a couple weeks ago and it threw me off because I think I misread it the way you said it initially. You said, I'm waiting for, you're waiting for everything to, you're waiting for a break. That's not the way you said it though. Do you remember what you said outside of Postman's?
Oh. Something's got to give.
Yes.
At one point, something has got to give.
But the way you phrased it, it sounded like you were waiting for the moment when everything just completely fell apart to the point where you could hit the reset button and start again. But what you meant was you were hoping for that break where the problems and the struggles and all the stuff that the world and life was throwing at you paused for a little bit so you could catch your breath and get some ease. And my initial reaction to that was, you don't want that. You don't want that at all.
Right.
And two reasons why. One is the time when life stops throwing you problems, the time when things quit going off the rails and everything suddenly becomes easy and you can go, is rare to begin with. They don't come around very often. The other problem with that is when it does come and that's your mindset, you're looking forward to it, it's there, it's like, oh, finally I can let my guard down. That's when life hits you like a train, it just broadsides you with something you never saw coming. And it's even worse, and you're not prepared for it because you've let your guard down. When you are engaged in doing stuff like reading and scripture study and listening to conference talks and praying and writing in your journal, you're doing these kinds of things and giving kindness on a daily basis. You're going after those things and you're making that a part of your character and what you're doing. You don't want that break. But you're not worried about it. Because the problems and stuff that life has been throwing at me, they're not that big a deal. Not anymore.
Right.
Not at this point. I mean, bad stuff happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's not what you want. But when it happens, I don't feel like I'm getting derailed. I don't feel like my whole life is coming to an end. The stress and the anxiety isn't there. A lot of worry and concern. Because I've got the master teaching me, following his path, going down those things. All this stuff is coming at me. It's just lifing. It's like, this will pass.
Right.
There's a solution here. There may be some opportunities here. It's like, okay, it's an obstacle. Or it's a stepping stone to climb up and get to the next level. You choose what it's going to be. But it's the ability to change the way you view your choices and the things that are coming in your life and seeing it instead of as problems. Because the only problems you have in your life are the things that you see as problems.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, it's just stuff that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
You make it a problem when you decide it is one and you say it's one. So when you can push that head trash out and fill it with something else, your approach to life is different. And it works with, first, consistency, practice, exercise. And the fundamentals here are studying scriptures, praying, meditating, or writing in your journal, giving a kindness to other people so that you're acting outside of yourself. Doing these things are fundamental basics. to spiritual growth.
Right.
Individually, they're not really hard. Maintaining the consistency of doing them on a daily basis and not missing them becomes challenging. And obstacles will come in your path. There will be things that will happen that you're going to feel like you can't do it, there's no time for it, you forgot it, whatever it is. And the question is, when you've been up for 16 hours and you've been working your butt off and it's 11 o'clock at night and you're tired and you want to go to bed and you realize, I haven't read my scriptures today. Are you going to go to bed anyway? Or are you going to stop and read them first? And it's a choice you make.
Right.
And this is not something to where somebody is coaching you, checking in on you. There's all this talk about having somebody that you have accountability to. The most important people for you to have accountability to is God and yourself. So this is about accountability to you. So if you do this, this is for me. I'm accountable to me. It's about my integrity to me. If I say I'm doing this, that you do it. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Nobody else even needs to know you're doing it.
Right.
It doesn't make any difference. You know you're doing it. And if you have a day that's a loss because you missed something, you know it's a loss. You own it. All right, I had a loss. I got to start over on day one. Okay, that's fine. But to be able to do it for 75 days straight, that's about consistency. It's practicing consistency and overcoming those obstacles and those things that happen that threaten the loss. When there's a possibility that you feel like you can't do it. It's been said that if you don't feel like praying, get on your knees and pray until you do.
Right.
Can you put yourself in that mindset to where this is what I want and I want it badly enough that it doesn't matter. In the process, yes, it becomes a habit. Some of these things will become a part of your character within 75 days. Some of them won't. Some of them won't even stick as a habit. You'll get to the end of 75 days and you might stop a couple of them entirely. You might just stop writing in your journal. You got your 75 days, you're done. But then you might still be doing this prayer twice a day and can't live without it because you need it like oxygen at that point.
Right.
That's okay. You can start 75, Faithful 75 again anytime you want. You can do it again and see what you can get out of it next time. This doesn't have to be a one-time thing. This is a jumping off point. This is the start. Andy Frisella described 75 Hard as a boot camp for his Live Hard program, which was a year-long program, and over that year you do 75 Hard 3 times with stuff added in besides. I didn't do Live Hard. I did 75 Hard. I didn't do Live Hard because I'm doing this instead. I'm not as concerned with developing myself physically as I am with developing myself spiritually. I am doing stuff because I did 75 Hard. I was doing those 2 workouts every day. I'm not doing 2 45-minute workouts every day, but I'm still exercising daily. It stuck with me.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff stuck. Some of this is stuck. It's going to keep, it becomes a part of who you are, and like I said, like oxygen, you can't live without it. Now that I've gone through all this and I've put you through all the ringer of this description, what are some of your thoughts about Faithful 75?
It's a challenge for yourself, to God, to more spiritually strengthen yourself. Not necessarily for things to become a habit, but for it to become a part of your character. It's just a few things that I could think of.
So you got a few takeaways that you're taking from it.
Yeah.
Not that. Now, here's a question. I'm going to ask it to you. I'm going to ask it to anyone who's watching now too. Will you do Faithful 75?
Sure.
Okay. So if you're going to do Faithful 75, here's your immediate assignment for it. Choose what day you're going to start.
Okay.
I don't care if it's tomorrow or in a month from now. It's up to you because you're the one leading it. Pick a date, commit to your date. This is the date I'm starting. That's up to you. Make sure that you have a journal to write in, because you're going to need one. So check, make sure you've got that available. Choose what scripture you want to be reading. Is it going to be Old Testament, New Testament, Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants? Where do you want to start reading at? So choose your scripture, so which one you're going after. And this will be easy for you because you already know where you're at, but pick how you want to listen to conference talks. You can start in 1971 and work your way through, and you're partway through. You're nearly to the end of them.
I'm almost to 2008.
Yeah, see? So you know where you're at, you're probably just going to continue where you left off. Somebody else might want to go back and just listen to all the talks from one person. Or they want to start in a particular year, or they want to look for a particular topic. All of that is fine. But figure out what you want to do. Have those things planned and decided in your head by the time your start date comes, so that when day one rolls around, you're ready to go. If you need help keeping track, if you need to use something, whether it's a task list, or I actually put it in my journal, I write in my journal as part of my journal entry what day I'm on and whether I've succeeded at my tasks or not, or followed through with all 5 rules. So you figure out how you can best keep track through your day of where you're at so that you can follow that, because it helps keep from forgetting it, but you plan for yourself how you're going to approach it going on. All right?
All right.
That's the invitation to everybody for starting this stuff off. And the Faithful 75, this is the first process. You can say it's our boot camp for discipling with power. This is to get you going as far as your personal development, getting on the path of following Jesus Christ and being his disciple for yourself. You need to be on that path before you invite other people to come join you. And you don't have to be perfectly on it. You don't have to be doing everything right. You don't have to be winning at Faithful 75 every single day to be able to reach out and share with others. But being able to start here and being able to gain the blessings and the benefits that come from it will set you up for success when you start reaching out to others. And that is what I am bringing to you. And we will come around to another episode and we're going to talk about what comes next, because this is the stuff for the first 5 principles of discipleship. What comes next when we're talking about sharing and how to get ready to get that ball rolling and taking those things on. So I hope you all have enjoyed this so far, and I look forward to hearing from some of you as far as your experiences as you take this journey as well.